Hey, guess who it is? It's your old friend, SimplySuperDave, coming to you live from the great state of Louisiana, here in these crazy United States of America, on the very globe we call Earth, spinning out of control in this crazy universe we call life. How's everyone doing today? I hope you're doing very well. We have already made it through the month of February, the shortest month of the year, the tightest money month of the year, and have made it into March. Let me tell you, folks, I love March. March is always, I know why they put St. Patrick's Day in there, because it's green and the clover and the good luck, because you get an extra paycheck in March. Most years you do. Every now and then you pull out a 4, but you'll usually get 5 paychecks in March. So that's always really, really, really awesome and nice. Today's podcast really doesn't have a theme yet. But I know my mind is working. And when it does that, I know I need to get things out. I need to express myself a little bit before I let them eat me up within. So really, if this is your first time listening to the podcast, let me suggest to you, you're missing out if you don't go listen to the other episodes. There's 130 plus episodes, and it's taken over a year to do that. Okay, so don't think that I'm going to get so far ahead of you that you can't get caught up. Trust me, I don't drop these that often, but when I do, I try to let everybody know. And of course, follow me on YouTube, and you can get all the content there, including my streams I do on Twitch, my TikToks, of course, and follow me on TikTok. The same place, same name, you know it, SimplySuperDave. So do me a favor, give me a little help there, and just like, follow, and share. Share, that's the word I need to remember to ask you to do. I just think liking and following me is enough, but I guess, sharing wouldn't hurt, and that would be really great. It doesn't cost you anything, even subscribing and all the platforms I'm on. If you've already paid for the service, there's nothing extra for the podcast. So, I don't charge for any content. If there is ways you can spend to give me on Twitch when I do live streams, and if you are that, into it, you can connect, with me a little bit, and I might even pass on the Cash App information. But I'll tell you this much, you know the name already. Like that little subtle, I hate trying to do stuff like that, but when I promo a little bit, I like to be just realistic about it. I'm not looking for it. I just want to know that you hear it. That's all I care about, is if people hear it. And when people tell me they've listened to it and stuff, it really makes me happy inside, not just because they're listening to it, but they're bringing it up to me because they found the topic to be interesting, and to get them to think as well. And they go, you know what? That made me think of this. No. Wow, that's great. See, it was already in the back of your mind. You just needed someone else to confirm you're not crazy, and it's okay to question everything, because God gave you a brain for a reason. He wanted to make sure you did the right things, but consider all options. And I think a lot of people in life don't do that. And a lot of people in life take life too seriously. Just imagine if you lived a life that didn't have jobs to go to. Not saying you wouldn't have a job every day, but just imagine if you didn't have an assigned job at a building somewhere in the city that you just do certain things all day long. Does that sound like it's appealing to anyone? Maybe if it's something you enjoy doing. Now, try to imagine there's no stores in the world, okay? Try to imagine living out in the wilderness. You would still have a job every day. To survive, you would have to provide for yourself. We have went from now you just have to have a job to earn the money you need to get all the things that you would have provided yourself for free. Just hard work. But you're doing hard work anyway, but you're only earning a barter for the things that you normally would have provided yourself. Just think about it a little bit. That's why we have all the free time, movies, TV, social media, Twitch, playing video games. I mean, all this stuff came from the free time that we had because we have slowly industrialized our life. The Industrial Revolution is a fantastic part of human history because it's never happened before. And what I mean by that, because yes, I know there are ancient cities being built and all that, but they didn't have industrialization. They didn't have machines doing work for them. They had tools that could create things that we can't even do today still to this very day. I mean, think about it. If you want to build the ultimate buildings, there are plenty of ancient civilization structures on the planet that existed way before the 2,000-year-old Bible we follow. And I promise you, if they're still standing, that's pretty good craftsmanship right there. So I think we should take into account the fact that they were way more advanced than we were, but it was all naturally provided. You know what I mean? Like it all was just tools and everything was made from something natural. They didn't have the metal kind of thing. And what I mean by the metal, because they're swords, obviously, they didn't have tin, and steel beams and stuff like that. They believed in rock because, it's fucking rock. Solid piece of rock is kind of hard to move. I don't care how strong the wind's blowing. But I think about that time, the Industrial Revolution, because let's refocus on the fact of not the details of the buildings and so forth, but John D. Rockefeller. I always tell people to look up John D. Rockefeller, and you will understand why you live the life today that you live. And I suggest the same thing to you, to look up John D. Rockefeller. You know the name. You always hear about Rockefeller Plaza in New York. Third rock from the sun, all centralized in Rockefeller Plaza in New York. He is the first oil man. So he is the origin. So, of course, if there was any person on the planet that made more money from oil, it would have been John D. Rockefeller. And since we know oil makes the world move, at least on the highways and byways out there still, I know a lot of you like electric. Trust me, there is oil used in that car. Trust me. I promise you. It may not say oil, but everything made about that vehicle comes from oil. The plastic, the pharmaceutical pills that were developed. That's how the pharmacy industry began, was from the off-brand things you can make from oil. And you're like, oil in my pill? Yes, oil in your pills. You just got to get the idea of what oil is in your head out. Like, it's not just a big black sludge. Once it's refined and broken down, it can be used for many things. Plastics. A lot of plastic things about in the world, isn't it? I'm just saying, it is the number one commodity on the planet in physical form. In today's world, the number one thing in the world, commodity, is something you can't touch. It's called information, data, whatever you want to call it, information. That has now become the number one commodity on our planet. We are dealing with something that if the electricity went off, it just goes the fuck away. But with oil, it's always going to be there because it's physically there. The earth regenerates that thing itself. We just tapped into it at the perfect time, right? We don't know how much is left. They don't know either. That's why they're still drilling for it. If they knew how much was left, they know where to go drill. Think about it. They have to do a lot of test drilling sites before they find the right place. I wonder why you just couldn't get it the first time. You got to look for that shit. Why? Because you don't know where the fuck it all is. It's lies. It's all lies. Everything they tell you where it's factual. This is when we might run out, or we're definitely going to run out of this, and the Florida's going to disappear in 10 years, and that was 30 years ago, and just all these kind of things, because they don't know. They can't even get the weather right these days. They say it's going to rain on one day, and the shit either passes us or it just dissipates, or there's like a 30-minute shower. So technically you're right, it did rain, but that 80% chance all day for 30 minutes in the morning, now you got that wrong. Yeah, but it doesn't matter. Your day still goes on, rain, sleet, or snow. It's just life for me, so it doesn't matter. But rain does make it a little bit more difficult. Any kind of weather does. I love sunny days. I love the summertime here in Louisiana. It's a little humid. It will get humid later in the summer, but the greenery, the hills, the swamps, the back roads. Then you drive a little ways, you're in the city. Get a little taste of the city, but not too much big city. Just mid-city, you know? And that's enough for me. If I went into another town, it would have to be smaller town, like quiet town. Like on Sundays, nobody fucking opens kind of town. That would be the dream, right? Stay closed on Sunday just because, not because it's the Lord's Day, but just because it's a day for you to rest. And God believed in that, and He took a damn rest. You need to follow the example. I need to follow the example. What the fuck I'm telling y'all, I need to fucking listen to myself. But yeah, that's what the podcast is about. It's just normal talk coming from the brain of a guy that could have died, what was it? 2002, 21 years ago. Well, actually, it's been 2 years plus, so it's actually been, 22 years ago. 22 years ago, I attempted but failed, apparently, or I wouldn't be here talking to you today, to eliminate myself from all my problems. What a stupid solution. But I was blessed that it didn't go the way it was supposed to. And most people, if I've talked to you and opened up to you, then I may have mentioned it, because I do it in passing because I'm not afraid of it. I don't admitting when I was weak and when I didn't know better. But, 21 years later, I looked at the other side of the coin differently. I had a different perspective on things. I wanted to always humble myself and remember that my problems aren't as big as the world. Like nobody really cares. Nobody knows. So they can't care. So that's why they don't care. Don't think that I'm saying people are rude out there. If you opened up to some random stranger, I'd say 8 times out of 10, they will be sympathetic and try to help you. But I don't do that. I'm not looking for anybody else's solution. I have to figure it out on my own. But I do like having conversations about the topic I may be pondering over, to hear their honest opinion instead of worrying about what I'm going through. I make light of a lot of things. I'll use my sense of humor to cover a lot of my negative attitude. I like to turn it into laughter. I'm just like anybody else. I can get easily peeved about the smallest things. And sometimes I do, but only in my head. What matters to me most is how I deal with it outwardly. And in my weak moments when I'm either an asshole or inconsiderate, arrogant, I like to try to hopefully catch myself so I can at least apologize to whoever I may encounter during those moments. In other words, I am nowhere near perfect. But when words of wisdom are shared, if you judge the wisdom of the words based on who said it, then you are the fool. What made Bill Clinton a great president, regardless of all his flaws and so much? He was a very charming, likable person because he took life easy. He didn't take it too seriously, and when he had to be, he was. But he was always the person in the room that when other people go, do you ever have an original idea? He's like, well, if I hear a better idea, I think that's what we should go with, and that's what I do, is I put that out there. I'm not going to push my idea when I know there's a better one out there. And that honesty in that answer was what won it over for me, for him at least. I was like, that's a leader. He doesn't have to be the smartest person in the room. He just has to be the wisest person in the room. Knowing what to do with information is probably way more valuable than having the information itself. It's like picking up a hammer and knowing how to use it properly rather than just banging something with it. There is a difference. You both hit the nail, that's right. But one of you did it so properly it almost looks like it's not there, and you can see dent in the wood from the other guy hitting it with the hammer. So that's the difference. And that's how life is. You can translate that for anything. But yeah, here we are living in the vast wonders of the Industrial Revolution to benefit solely us, when all the other civilizations lived with nature, as we oppose to take nature and recycle it into what we need. Does that make sense? I think that's what we're doing wrong. But we are so money-driven, the root of all evil itself. And I'm not a religious person. I'm telling you, I'm not trying to tell anybody to go to church. I don't go to church. I was raised in church, but I don't need to have a church in my life to believe in God. And if you've heard the other previous podcasts, my belief in God is going to be something you don't hear very often, if ever, because I know my perspective on that is completely different than a lot of people's. But I've heard people like Jim Carrey speak about that very topic, and I feel like that's exactly what I believe as well. So if you've ever heard those strange Jim Carrey interviews, you need to go back and listen to them, because the dude is speaking a lot of truth way back in the day, and he got pawned off his... He was almost like his reputation was kind of ruined over the backlash of how he, spoke honestly. But when he was just good old Jim Carrey, making everybody laugh, and they'll put him back out there for everybody to go, oh yeah, he's a legend. But last year he's lost his mind. That's why I don't watch TV anymore. I have shows I like to watch, but when it comes to like content from the network itself, I tend to tune a lot of that out. And that includes some shows than today, but I'm not going to get into that either. I just want to make sure you understood that everything you have been taught and learned, and I'm not talking about from your parents, well, maybe now, but at least Generation X had parents that taught them traditions, which is the same thing you get fed through from the TV, except they're not very good traditions. They're money-driven traditions. Family will teach you moral traditions, how to respect, yes ma'am, no ma'am, all that classic stuff. Don't smack. I had to say that one. I love you. I love being able to express myself, to put my voice out there for a pair of ears or an ear to listen. It's my therapy. I figured I'm saving $500 an hour every time I do one of these. So that's my philosophy on it. I like to talk myself through problems and in my own head, even mistakes that I've made, to try to correct my ways or be better the next time, and be realistic of how long it's going to take me before I get good at it. But yes, everything you've been taught in school, everything you've been taught if you became a doctor in school, is all motivated, bought, and paid for by John D. Rockefeller. Think about it. Every curriculum you took in a public school, even private schools, basically, all the curriculum, the books, everything, in the mid-30s, 20s to 30s, somewhere in that range. Because I've seen a school book that predated the buyout. And it was kind of basic, they hit certain points or whatever, but they were it's very, very racial history books from way back in the 20s, if you ever read one. Of course, he bought out the system. He chose what subjects, math, all the major science and biology, all that got introduced into the public school systems via John D. Rockefeller's donations to the public education system. Basically created it. Literally. He did not stop there. He went to the college level. He wanted to make sure his pills that he could make had a market. Thus, he bought and paid for the curriculum of all medical schools, thus putting out a whole new form of healthcare. Pre-existing before that, there was natural solutions to any human problem. Before. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, it's fascinating the knowledge they can do with everything in a hospital that they can. Don't get me wrong. I truly believe that life is better with the medical system they developed from the technology they had. But the treatment process of the medical system was bought out by pharmaceutical companies based on, that's right, John D. Rockefeller. So everything that you're taught and learned and how they take care of you health-wise is all controlled by a person that didn't want a nation of thinkers. He needed a nation of workers, a.k.a. slaves with pay. And that is the America that we live in today. Now, everybody's lost in their free time of doing anything, like playing video games and watching movies and becoming a surfer, a football player, a baseball player, wrestler. It doesn't matter what you want to be, brother. As long as you're bought and paid for. And you don't know how to provide yourself anything. Just the trade to get it. Think about it. Look up John D. Rockefeller. I don't know how many times I'm going to have to say that name. Great man, powerful man, very respectful. But like a lot of major rich people, their lust for power is the only thing that outweighs their lust for money. And he was no exception. Oh yeah, if you want another rabbit hole to go down, here's one for you. Is it possible that the Titanic was a hit? That's right, a hit to take out certain rich families. John B. Astor, one of the richest men on the planet, was on that boat. And so was supposed to be J.P. Morgan and Chase. J.P. Morgan. And there's several family names you'll recognize. And I want to say Rockefellers were involved in that too. Because they disagreed. And then, it was about the housing market, if I'm not mistaken. Owning homes in America. As you may know, many homes are owned by different banks. But all those banks are under a certain umbrella that goes to one company. It's all just a pyramid scheme, folks. Even when you think you're going to Taco Bell and you're hurting business for this company over here, you would be surprised that they're pretty much owned by the same people. So what do we do about that? That's the question. Anytime that the people had representation speaking out loud to bring us together, they have been shot and brutally killed. Even our own president. 1963. There's a name on the ballot this year that represents that 1963 assassination, and his name is Robert Kennedy. And he will be on the ballot for you to vote for president this year. And for the first time since George Washington, we can have an independent, how wonderful does that even sound, president of the United States. Look for his party. It's a third party because the Democrats are assholes. Third party called We the People. It really doesn't get much sweeter than that. Listen to some of the things he's got to say and tell me you don't feel the same way. Or if that's not what we need. And here's a man that's motivated by finding out the truth about his family's history by becoming president, because only a president can actually go back and look at the honest truth about what's happened over the years with JFK assassination, for one. And no president has ever unlocked those files. I mean, there's more to be discovered. There is within what they've already let out there. I mean, if you think they've let out everything, then you don't know jack. Trust me. If you watch any documentary about that, watch the one that has the guy who does, like, the crime scenes, the bullet guy. He can always figure out where a bullet's being fired from. Once you watch that one, there's no question in your mind what happened that day. And no, it wasn't just the lone gunman. Granted, he was there and he did take his shots. Just, that's all I'm saying. So I'm not denying that part. I'm not saying it's just that, but that's not the truth. I've even been there myself, just to physically walk the street, the building. Yeah. It's a very impactful moment in my life, and I wasn't even born yet. But the waves of that speaks volumes. MLK, another one. Both around the same period of time. Robert Kennedy, who was going to run for president. That was, of course, JFK's younger brother, Robert Kennedy's father. So this man has both had his dad and his uncle assassinated in front of him. None of doubt. I think we owe this man at least a shot at that presidency. He deserves it. He deserves to know the truth. I want that for him, so he can have closure. Even if he doesn't tell us, at least he'll know. I think about things like that. But yeah, folks, you have a chance to make history, real change. Put someone in there that echoes the very voice of the working man, working slave of the America corporation. Did you know that actually that's legit? Like, we're not even a country. We're actually a corporation because it was bought out. I can't remember what it was after Woodrow Wilson, I believe, is the one that signed in the Federal Reserve, which that was probably the biggest mistake ever. And he even realized it and wrote it in his memoirs that he felt like he made a mistake there and sacrificed the country because he didn't know anything about the federal. He had a bunch of banker friends, keyword banker friends, who were very keen on this Federal Reserve idea and told him he should sign it, and he did. And then after he did, he realized through the effects of what was happening that he might have made a mistake, and he did. And we have been trying to reclaim this country ever since, because that pretty much gave the stronghold the government needed to start controlling our lives and taking away our freedoms by convincing us that it was in best interest for us, for them to take care of you instead of you providing yourself. And what I mean by that is you're no longer thinking to come up with answers as much as you're just being told. This is the answer. Instead of thinking about it, really try to figure out how they figured it out. I always do that. And I may not do it on the spot, but later on I will think about it and I will be like, well, how did they come up with, that's brilliant, but how did they get to that? I want to learn. I want to know. And that's not there anymore for a lot of people. Some people say things and then you ask what it means and they have no clue. This is just what so-and-so did. This is what I was raised to do. Our family always did this. John D. Rockefeller would be proud. He would be very proud. So, yeah, I don't expect this podcast to be listened to by many people. I don't exactly talk about the happiest things. I just try to do it in an entertaining way. I want to make sure people at least walk away with a smile knowing, you know what, we're fucked, but that guy makes it pretty funny. But we still have hope There's always hope. One of my top films of all time is The Shawshank Redemption. If you haven't checked out the past podcast, there is a top 10 countdown. And there's a episode on each one of those. So like I said, all the podcasts it just varies from top to topic. Not always talking about stuff like this. I might have a little fun. Tell you some Blockbuster Video stories. Yes, I used to work at Blockbuster Video. That's how old I am. Born in 74. So I'm rocking up on the big 5-0 later this year. Not really keen on it because the 40s have been very rough to me. Broken me, really. Literally. But yeah. Don't let people provide you with information. The most valuable commodity on the planet. Critically think. Question. That's what that means. Critically think about everything. But remember my old adage. Too much of anything is a bad thing. So don't overthink things, okay, folks? Think about things to the point where you get the solution, but you move on. Don't overthink it and create more problems than should be there. Not every topic has a deepness of a well. Some are pretty shallow and they're easy to get through. Don't overthink them. And remember to just do the most important thing of all, to keep swimming. Keep moving those arms and legs. Keep believing. And you'll get there. It may not be at the time frame you expected or started out with, but as long as you finish the race, that's all that matters. And most of all, carry the greatest weapons on the planet that God ever given you. And that's the love in your heart and the laughter in your soul. Because you're going to come along a lot of hate and fear in the world. A lot of it. When you're able to love that what is hated, you have already won. When you're able to laugh in the face of fear, then you've already won. We should all strive to be the happiest motherfuckers on the planet. Much love and laughter. It's the only thing that can conquer hate and fear. So go be a conqueror. Don't become another victim. Have a great day. SimplySuperDave out.